early. We're a little bit early. I'm just waiting for our guests to join. So thank you for joining so early. Hope you're all well. Hope you enjoyed the day. Oh, thank you so much, Alice. Thank you. I feel really hot. Today has been absolutely boiling in the UK. So I kind of feel a bit like I need a breeze. But it's been beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So how has World Vitiligo Day been for you? It's been overwhelming. Really overwhelming. But such a beautiful way to celebrate our skin. So I'm so proud to be part of this community, and every year this takes place, it just makes me realise just how important it is that we get together, we share content and we raise awareness. So thank you for making it a lovely day to celebrate. So I'm hoping Natalie's going to join. Bonjour. In Germany it was hot. Oh, good. It's about time. It's about time we had some good weather. As you know, the UK is known for being quite grey and quite miserable. So yeah, it's about time we had a little bit of a mini heat wave. Hi, Mexico. It's great. This is global. This is brilliant. I'm going to be saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is fantastic. Any tips for confidence? I'm appalled that you get called a monster, but we're going to come on to that. We're going to come on to confidence. So bring all your comments in, bring all your questions in, because I'm really going to try and cover as many questions as I can. Hi, Russia and Colombia. This is amazing. Oh, this is so good. This is our first Instagram live, guys, and I'll be honest, I'm quite nervous, but it's really good. I feel welcomed already. Hi, Switzerland and Atlanta. Oh my God, I'd love to be in Atlanta, Georgia right now. It's one of my dream destinations. Hello, Mexico again. And hi, guys in India. God, you're all in some amazing parts of the world. I'd much more rather be somewhere else than here right now, if I can say that. So I think Natalie's coming. I have just spoken to her, so I'm hoping that she is going to pop in at some point. I've never done this before, so it's all very trial and error. Very, very trial and error. What we got here? Got a question here. How to choose the right dermatologist? We'll try and come on to that. But keep those questions coming in, because I'm really going to try and make sure I follow the feed so that we can get all your questions answered. I think she's coming. She's definitely not stood me up. I know that much. She's definitely not stood me up. She's definitely coming. And I think it's going to be a really good conversation, actually. So I've known Natalie for about a year and a half now, and she is a wealth of knowledge in relation to a number of themes around vitiligo. So she has a lot of knowledge around nutrition and diet, and changing your lifestyle a little bit to kind of manage your skin condition. So I'm really, really glad that she's going to be here tonight. I think it's going to be a real nice, relaxed conversation. Invite me again, so just bear with me, guys. God, there's always like these little techie things. Here we go. There we go. Right. Oh, this is temperamental sometimes. Right, so I've just invited her. Cool. Excellent.
Hi! Yay!
Hi, how's it going?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm very well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
That's fantastic. Good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
We've got some great people watching. We've got people from all over the globe, which is really positive.
That's amazing. So excited to be here.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us for our first. We're a couple of minutes early, but I'm sure we can start. It's fine.
Yes.
So, what should we start? So, let me start by saying happy World Vitiligo Day to everybody.
Thank you. Yeah.
Today has been an eye-opener, and it feels like every year this just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are just really prepared to celebrate their skin, share content, tag people in posts, and it's incredible. I find it quite emotional. Maybe it's because I'm a Cancerian, but I find it really emotional, and it's definitely it helps me with my own journey, being part of this beautiful community that is just so open. So I hope you all had an amazing day. How have you found it, Natalie?
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's just so it's so great having Instagram and seeing all the messages, that so much positivity, and it just feels so nice to be part of this really supportive and kind community. So it's really great. And as you say, it gets bigger and bigger every year.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So for all you guys watching, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So this is just going to be a really conversational session between me and Natalie. We're going to talk about a few of the things that she does. She's a skin coach, which is incredible because she's got a lot of knowledge around nutrition and diet and lifestyle, as I mentioned before. Please do drop your comments or your questions into the comments, and I'll try my real best to kind of follow. And then we can maybe do a bit of a Q&A at the end if you've got anything you want to ask Natalie or me as a trustee at the Vitiligo Society. So I'll just do a little bit of an intro. So I first met Natalie probably around a year ago. It was last summer. And I remember we'd been speaking on Instagram probably for about 6 months. And obviously we connected because we both got vitiligo. We were both mixed as well. And then we met up in central London for dinner, and we just had this most moving, most enlightening conversation, and it just felt so natural. It felt like we'd been friends for years because it was just such a nice conversation. We spoke about the challenges we often face with vitiligo, trying to manage the summer months when all you want to do is cover up. We spoke about feeling anxious when you've got a skin condition such as ours. So it was such a beautiful conversation. And we've obviously kept in touch since. And this is why you're here with us this evening.
Yeah.
Which is good. So I'm not going to introduce you because the best person to introduce you is yourself. So do you just want to kind of start from the beginning and just kind of let us know a little bit about your journey and when you developed vitiligo and how it made you feel at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, thank you, Natalie, and the Vitiligo Society for everything you do, because you're an amazing organization supporting everyone. So we really appreciate everything you do, and you're constantly working so hard. Natalie's constantly working so hard behind the scenes with the others in the team. And so thank you for all of that you provide everyone. And yes, when you were telling that story just now, I was getting goosebumps because it was really like that when we first connected. And I think that's the wonderful thing about what we're hopefully going to be doing tonight is we're sharing stories. And when we share stories, it just makes our skin journeys a lot easier. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my journey, and I'll just give you the short version. So I guess my vitiligo didn't show up until later in life for me, and I just start off with like a couple of spots, and by my mid-teens so my mid-20s I had a few spots, but they didn't really bother me so much, and if I wanted to I could just cover them up easily with makeup. They were just on my arms, and it wasn't such a big deal. But then later, about 10 years ago, I started to lose the pigment very, very suddenly and rapidly, and to the point where I'd lost over 60% of the pigment in my face and my body. And as anyone knows, it is really, it not only impacts your confidence, but it really can feel, it's a bit scary actually, because you just don't know what's happening to you. You can't seem to control it. And even though I was like at the time I was looking for cures and solutions and speaking to dermatologists, there wasn't really a lot out there to help me. And actually I did try some treatments, and one of them actually made me lose more pigment.
Right.
So it made me just stop. And then I kind of mentally and emotionally became really low about it.
Mm.
And I kind of hit rock bottom. And sometimes in life, you have to, it's almost like you have to hit rock bottom to realize, actually, I want to change things, and then making the decision that you'll do whatever it takes to feel better and get to a better place. Because I
Yeah.
just knew that that wasn't me. Like, I'd become really depressed, actually. And I've always been a really positive person. And I didn't want to spend the rest of my life like that. I just didn't want to stay
Yeah.
that way. So I was really not, I was hiding a lot and not showing up in life in the way I wanted to show up. So I didn't
Yeah.
feel very authentic. So anyway, I hit the research. Basically, I just studied everything. And as I started to learn things, it became very exciting for me, because I started to realize how everything's connected to our skin, because even how we feel actually impacts our skin at a cellular level,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Like, when we go to a dermatologist, they might say, oh, to keep stress down. And I think everyone who has vitiligo, if you've had it for a while, you'll know that stress is not helpful. And, definitely for me, it was a factor. And so what I realized was even the emotions, the thoughts that are going on in our head can actually trigger that anxiety and stress, which then impacts our skin at a cellular level. And all of this was tied together along with nutrition. I wasn't really taking care of myself at the time physically. So I had to do a complete reset,
Yeah.
and not just look in one area. So I created a program for myself that involved not just nutrition, and sort of my lifestyle routines in general, just so I was taking better care of my physical health, but I also had to work on my mindset.
Yes.
And that's when I studied. I had cognitive behavioral therapy myself
Ah.
that really helped with my anxiety, because
Right.
I basically had generalized anxiety by
Yeah.
this point. And so that really helped me. So I trained in cognitive behavioral coaching so that I could understand it better and then help others. And so what I find is, you put all of these pieces together and it's a really powerful combination. And what I discovered was the key to really, feeling good in your
Yeah.
skin, and being able to stay on this journey of having vitiligo and
Yeah.
enjoying your life at the same time. The key
Absolutely.
is really accepting our skin, and then doing all you can to support your physical health so
Yeah.
you actually feel good.
Yes. Yes.
And then actually then my skin started healing. I started in combination with treatment with my dermatologist. It was a really powerful combination, and
Yeah.
the pigment on my face restored, and it's slowly on my body restoring. However, the best lesson of all was that actually we don't have to fix our skin to feel good. Like, there's lots of
Absolutely.
things we can do right now. So
Absolutely.
yeah, okay, that wasn't such a
Yeah.
short version, but
That's fine. That's
that's
fine.
my story
Yeah, no,
so
but
far.
you've raised some really, really important points, because I think, it's never really just one thing that affects us. It's a combination of factors. And one of the things you mentioned was about mindset. And I am, for me, mindset is a really hot topic for me, because that was how I became to accept my skin, because I was in a really, really dark place up until the age of 29, 30, and that wasn't that long ago. I was in a dark place, and I found my whole life revolved around vitiligo. So everything that I done, whether that be go on a job interview, whether that be go outside during the summer, whether that be dating, everything just revolved around this idea that I had vitiligo. And it was like I was just a walking advert for the condition. But then you realize a lot of it is about training your mind, because we spend so much time thinking about what everyone else is thinking about us that we don't actually recognize what our mind should be telling us to do. Our mind should be telling us to think positively, behave positively. So it's always, you know, mindset is a really, really important factor, I think. And it is definitely a combination of things. And as you mentioned before, CBT, I think that's really important. It's not something, when I got vitiligo, I was 3 years old. So CBT was not even something you would even consider. When I was 3 years old, the first thing that we did, or my parents done, was try and find treatment for me. So CBT again is another great way to try and, you know, train the mind and try and get that self-acceptance rather than thinking, let's just try and cure it. So you raised some really, really important points. So you've become a skin coach, which is, you know, exciting and obviously something that has obviously really helped you with your journey. What made you want to become a skin coach?
So I'd say that it was looking back. So when I was at that place 10 years ago, I was describing where I was very anxious, very stressed, and had become depressed over my skin condition and the way it was impacting my life and confidence and everything. And I really, at the time, I couldn't see the wood for the trees. I couldn't see how I was going to make things better unless I fixed my skin. That's my head. I was thinking I needed to fix my skin.
Yeah.
However, I kept being told it's difficult to treat, and I wasn't having any joy in treating it myself. So I started to think that this was an obstacle, that my skin was an obstacle. And it was not until I had done lots of therapy and coaching, working with other coaches myself, as well as all the other things I mentioned before, like the lifestyle routines that I adopted. And I put this together and I realized how powerful it is as a combination, and it completely changed my life. And as you can see, I still have vitiligo. However, I'm really enjoying my body and my skin and having a normal life, which I used to think I couldn't have until my skin was flawless and perfect, like we see in the magazines. And so when I realized that I was suffering for so long, and I know you can relate to this because we had this conversation, we can suffer for so long, and then I realized it just doesn't have to be like that. And I remember having this moment when I was studying coaching. I remember having this moment thinking, oh my goodness, if other people knew this, then it wouldn't have to be so hard for them. And that's when I decided, like, I really wanted to share what I've learned to help others to make their journey, their skin journeys, a lot easier, because there's lots of things we can do to make it easier. And I don't believe that you have to suffer. So so it's basically, if I can turn the pain and suffering I went through into something positive to help others, then that's got to be a good thing. And that was really what inspired me to train to be a coach.
Brilliant. I'm just trying to follow some of the comments because we're getting some questions. So there's a couple of comments around cognitive behavioral therapy. Do you just want to give a little bit of background as to what that is?
Yes. So basically, I was studying more in cognitive behavioral coaching, but cognitive behavioral therapy is usually it's usually a psychologist or someone trained in psychology would normally be trained as a therapist. In terms of coaching, we use the similar techniques though. And the idea around cognitive behavioral therapy and coaching is that we often are doing things subconsciously. We just get into these patterns of reacting and behaving. And what we don't realize is usually what creates that behavior or action actually is preceded by a thought, and a thought or a belief. And we assume that that thought or belief is true. And I certainly did. I just thought anything that came out of my brain was the truth. And we don't stop to question it. And so this is kind of, if I had to sum it up in a nutshell, it's basically really powerful because we almost take a step back, and by feeling anxious or feeling stressed, it's almost like those feelings are really a fantastic, it's kind of like an alarm bell going off that
Yeah.
something's not right. So then we can stop and think, okay, what was it that I was thinking a few seconds before feeling that way? And it can be triggered by, like, if you're in public, say I was at the beach, for instance, and someone started, and, you know, I was in a swimsuit and someone was staring at my skin. I used to feel suddenly really embarrassed and
Yeah.
anxious.
Yeah.
And therefore, what was the thought that went on before that? And if you rewind, I had attached meaning to that person staring at me, which probably wasn't true, but I used to think it was true. So
Yes.
I used to think that that person staring at me was evidence that there was something wrong with me, that
Absolutely.
I was, you know, that I was unattractive
Yeah.
and my skin was ugly or whatever it was. And I didn't question that thought. And so that's why I started to feel embarrassed and anxious, and it was
Yeah.
a horrible feeling.
It is.
But what I didn't realize was that it was actually the belief that I was attaching to that wasn't true. Because we don't know when someone
No.
stares, we don't actually know what's going on in their head. I now like to think, so then the idea is you replace it with something that's more helpful. So I like to think that, and this is what I always do now. So, you know, people will still stare at my
Yeah.
skin, particularly in summer, as you mentioned earlier, when we're revealing more of our skin. And so now if someone stares at my skin, instead of saying, oh my gosh, that's like, it's so embarrassing, there's something wrong with me, instead I flip it round and I just say to myself, oh, that person's curious. They've not seen vitiligo
Yeah.
before, or
Yeah.
they've not seen my skin like that before. So that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not a reflection of my self-worth. And
Absolutely.
just that change. Now, I will say it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So I've got to a point now where it's automatic, but that's after years of training and practicing in it. And this is why I produce the programs I do now, is because I want to help people and hold their hand through the process, because it doesn't happen overnight. So therefore we can sort of think, oh, how come it's not working?
Mm.
And it's not that it's not working. It's just it takes a long time for our neural pathways to change. Because if this is a pattern we've been doing for years,
Yes.
which most of the time it is, and, you know, it could be since childhood, or it could be, you know, for many, many years as an adult, then it's not going to be, we can't just change that mind pattern
Yes.
over, you know, in one day, or, you
Yeah.
know, in a week.
Yeah.
And so it takes practices, but that's basically what it is. And it's very powerful. I mean, it completely, as I said, it just changed my life. It changed the whole way I started to think. And I became really dedicated to that practice. And yeah, it just, life feels so much lighter. And yeah,
Lighter. That's a really good
it's a
word.
really powerful tool to have in your toolkit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're re-educating yourself. It
Yes.
really
Yes.
is. And I think for me, that was one of the key things for me, was about training my mind to think differently. So for me, one of the things that I used to really struggle with was when I was going to work and I'd be on the train and I'd be holding on to the train rail. And naturally, because you're still and everyone's just looking around, people would look at my hands, look at my face, and not really be able to match the two. So the first thing I would do is I would get really hot. So I'd get really hot,
Yes.
I'd get really anxious, I'd then get really frustrated, and then I'd want to say something. Because in my head, that person was looking at my skin like it was really undesirable, really unattractive, and they're probably in their head thinking, oh my God, how does she live with skin like that? And that was 100% of what my thoughts were. I then had to do what you did. I had to then balance out my thoughts and think, okay, what if that person is thinking, your skin is really unique. It's actually quite pretty. I'm just really curious as to what it was. So I really had to kind of balance out my thoughts. And yes, they could be thinking negatively, but they could also be thinking really positively. And I think that's really, really important. And that's what's allowed me to be able to go out in a t-shirt or a pair of shorts, knowing that there is two ways of thinking and it's not always a negative way. And I think that's really, really important. So it's a really important thing that you raise. So summer, oh my God, it's summer and it's the time where we want to go out, you know, strip off a little bit, wear our, you know, our summer clothes. And one of the things a lot of people I get, you know, I get lots of messages about confidence. How do you feel confident going out knowing that people are going to look at you? And sometimes people can't hide the look on their face. They'll look at you in a particular way and they've got this look and it's like, oh my God, I know what that person's thinking. What would you say to people who are feeling a bit anxious about going out during the summer and they want to wear a pair of shorts and just feel that freedom that, you know, we've learned to feel?
Yeah. So I would say that basically there's no sort of set formula for what's right for you, because everyone's an individual and we have to do what's right, what feels right to us. So some people like to wear makeup and cover up, and some people don't. I used to never leave the house without wearing makeup on my face, because I had vitiligo on my face as well. And that's what made me feel comfortable. However, one thing I had going on was I had this little imposter syndrome thing going on,
Right.
where I felt guilty that I wasn't being authentic. So I would just be careful of that. So if you are covering up but feeling like you're hiding something and feeling guilty about that, then maybe you might want to try not covering up and seeing how it goes. Now, it's not always easy at first, but what I recommend is that, as I said earlier, being really mindful about what's going on in your head if and when someone stares, or you start to feel embarrassed or anxious. And as you said, it's usually that hot feeling. Like that's what I used to get as well, really hot and like butterflies in my stomach. So you'll know what the feeling is. And if you start to feel that way, just remind yourself that you are absolutely worthy. You're always worthy. And whether you cover up or not, whether you're wearing long sleeves or you're wearing a bikini, it doesn't matter. Like you are always worthy. And if someone is staring at you, then it's usually about them. It's not about you. It's not about you not being worthy enough. It's just them being curious. Most of the time it's just them being curious. Absolutely. I actually don't think it's people judging most of the time. And so just, it's more helpful, I think, just to think, okay, that person's curious. They haven't seen it before. Move on. Like, who cares? You know, like just move on to something else.
Yeah.
Either walk away. That's what I've done before. Sometimes if I literally, one time I was on holiday and a woman was literally standing this close to me and just staring at me up and down. So I just took myself out of that space. Like I just thought, right, okay, if she's not going to move, then I'm going to move. So I moved out of that space because I didn't feel good. But it's not a reflection of your worth or my worth or anyone's worth. We're all worthy. You're already good enough. You're amazing, in fact. And it's just about continuing to practice that. So I suggest, just going out in what you feel like wearing and giving it a try. And it will, if you keep practicing that, it will get easier. Because I for many years covered up and was just boiling hot all the time. Now it is so nice to not have to do that, like to be able to wear a dress when I want to wear a dress and wear what I want to wear. And but it took practice. So just be kind to yourself about that as well. It's going to take time.
Yeah, that's really important. And I love that. Just be kind to yourself. And these things don't happen overnight. I honestly, 10 years ago, you would never have caught me in anything that showed my hands or my feet. I covered from head to toe. And I think for me, I realized that I was living for other people. So I was living because I was worried about what people would think, and I wasn't really living for myself. So I was going out in a jumper and jeans because I was worried about what Alex thought, and sorry if there's an Alex here, I'm just, subjective. Alex, James, Sarah, I was worrying about what all those people thought, other than really thinking about myself. And that's when I realized that we've only got one life and we are unique, and there's no reason why we should cover our skin. People are curious, people are going to look, and half of the time, once they've looked, they've forgotten about it. They're on to their next thought. So we are literally just a passing thought in their head, but we hold on to that because of what we've been through and the challenges that we've experienced. But it is about remembering that those people are not too focused on what your skin looks like. They're looking, they're curious, and then they will forget about it. The same way you should forget about it if you do want to go out and wear a pair of shorts in the summer. I think it's really important. So I'm getting some really lovely comments in here. So I'm just going to just flick through. I saw someone mention that they've just got their first spot and they've just been diagnosed maybe over the past 3 weeks, and how you manage that. What kind of thing would you say? I mean, there's a couple of things that I could say about that. I think when you're newly diagnosed, it's obviously scary because vitiligo is an unpredictable condition. You know, sadly, there is no cure at the moment, so it's unpredictable. You might get one spot, you might get 25 spots, you might get a body full of patches. It's very, very unpredictable. But I think, especially in this day and age, I think there is such a strong community out there. But compared to when I was younger, because you know, social media didn't exist when I was young, so I didn't have a support community. But I think one of the key things that I think really helps is connecting with a community, like on social media, connecting with people that also have the condition, so that you can reach out to people, engage with people, ask people questions, drop people messages in their DMs, because most of the time they're open to that. So I think that's really important. If you are feeling a little bit alone, try and connect with a community and reach out, speak to family and friends, you know, if you can, confide in them. A big thing for me was being able to confide in my mum, who was my absolute tower of strength. She was there to just listen. So it's good to have a community, family, friends that will really just listen to you, so that you can just vent or rant, or, you know, just talk to them. What kind of things do you think people should do when they've been newly diagnosed, Natalie?
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. And I think, well, I actually have just finished, I'm not trying to do a plug or something, but I've literally just finished my ebook. And the reason I wrote this, it's really short. It won't take you long to read, but the reason I created it was actually for anyone who's been on the skin journey and perhaps struggling with, you know, confidence issues and so on. But I really had in mind the person who was at the beginning of their journey and literally just didn't know what to do, and like wanted to support themselves somehow, like, because, you know, it does impact your confidence, it does impact how you feel emotionally, and it can affect yourself mentally if it carries on without seeking help. As you've mentioned, it's really important to seek out for support and help, but also how to support our skin physically, because so when I was studying the nutrition and the biochemistry about our skin, there actually are things we can do to support our skin using nutrition and lifestyle habits, just to it doesn't guarantee that you're going to heal vitiligo, because as you know, it's very complex. It's not so easy to treat, even though you can treat it. And, you know, I have healed some of my pigment, but I won't ever say, and I've not said this in my book, that you can cure it, because that's not actually possible. And if anyone ever offers you a cure, they'd be very wary, because it's not about curing vitiligo. But the way I like to look at it is, I like to do everything I can to support my skin and everything I can to support my mental and emotional well-being. And so that's what I've written in this book, is if you're starting out, or even if you're halfway, or, you know, been on the journey for a while, I just find these things really helpful to know. And it's a summary. It's like an executive summary, really, of the last 10 years of my research. And I thought, if I had to tell someone in a really short space of time what would be the key things to focus on, that's what I put into this book. And so I actually think that's a really great place to start, as well as looking at the Vitiligo Society. You've got great resources on your website, and there are, as you know, there's there's a lot of people actually who I'm recognizing on this Instagram live who have amazing Instagram accounts that are really positive and very inspiring. They are such great role models. So I would really look out for people like that, because the great thing is as Natalie, you said, we're not on this journey on our own anymore. Like, it used to be the case that we did feel alone, and that made it harder. So you are absolutely not alone. We're here to support you and help you. And yeah, if you wanted to take a look at that book, it does give you some really helpful tips on how you can support your skin and your emotional well-being, so you can just feel like you're doing all the positive things.
Yeah.
It does help, and it's helped me a lot. And even because a lot of it is just based on doing all of this will boost your immune system as well, and your energy. So it's all very positive and really helpful right now, actually. So yeah, there's a lot out there. Just stay positive, know that you're worthy, and be kind to yourself. And it's all okay. It's really great, actually, because there's a lot of, I find that this is an opportunity to really get to know your body.
Absolutely.
And get to know yourself, so you can learn how to support yourself. And
Yeah.
everyone would benefit from having that skill set. So
Absolutely.
that's how I definitely see my vitiligo experience as an opportunity, and I get to meet some amazing people through the community. So yeah, it's all good.
Sorry, we've got a bit of a naughty follower that I was just trying to get rid of.
Oh,
Thank you.
great.
Thank you very much, because I was a bit fed up of reading these messages too. So the comments are really good. So thank you, Virtue. Just talking about some of the challenges and the discrimination that we can often face. People saying that they love our vitiligo spots. They've not necessarily got vitiligo, but they love the condition, which is so good to hear. What else have we got? We've got a couple of questions. So what else we got here? Can diet help in the initial stages of vitiligo? I think that's diet is quite a sketchy area. Diet can't, as far as I'm aware, cannot cure vitiligo, but I think there are certain foods and vitamins that you can take that might help. And I'm saying that quite sketchy because, as far as I'm concerned, there is no cure at the moment. But you've had some experience around nutrition and diet, haven't you, Natalie?
Yes. So when it comes to food and diet and nutrition and vitiligo, the key thing to remember here is each one of us, our bodies are unique, totally unique. And so when it comes to, it's not just when it comes to vitiligo, but basically with anything that when we look at diet, it's really important that we look at our body as a very unique and individual system in terms of our immune system, our gut health, and our nutritional needs, because it depends on our lifestyle and our genetics and the way our body is built. And it's completely different from one person with vitiligo to another person. So you're absolutely right. There is no one size fits all, like eat this magic fruit and you'll be fine. It'll solve your problem. It's not like that at all. However, there are certain foods that are common triggers for inflammation, and inflammation can have it can impact our immune system, and our immune system and our skin health are also linked. So there is evidence out there to say that if you were to eat a food, for example, like it's more increasingly the case that people are maybe as they get older have more of an intolerance to gluten, or perhaps dairy, or perhaps really spicy foods like chili or something like that, or too much sugar or things like that. So there are certain foods that you as an individual may not be supporting your body as well as other foods. So if you suspect that, for example, if you have, and you might know this because maybe after eating something you might feel bloated or get stomach pains or whatever. If you feel experiencing these are signs. This is your body talking to you, and I highly recommend having that checked by a professional registered nutritionist or dietitian, because there's some amazing tests out there. You can have your gut health tested, and it's no longer a black box. We can find these things out, and you might learn that perhaps you do have a sensitivity to gluten, and if so, then reducing that, or, you know, maybe it depends on the sensitivity. Some people are, you know, extremely sensitive to the point where they have to cut it out completely. Then over time, you're going to be reducing the inflammation that's going on in your body if it's being triggered by those foods.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not such a straightforward thing as, you know, eat this or don't eat that. Overall, if I had to sum it up, I would say eat more real foods and less processed foods. That's like, I know that might sound like common sense, but it's just really easy for us to reach for foods that are, you know, high in sugar and so on. It's fine to have like a, you know, everything in moderation, but where you can increase the amount of nutrients, vegetables and fruit and those sort of nutrients, lots of vitamins and minerals in your actual food, that's going to be great for supporting your skin. But in terms of actual individual food items, that has to come down to you having that. If you wanted to find out, you can definitely get the test done. But that's definitely an individual thing, and it's not related to vitiligo. It's more down to how your body is made.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, that's been brilliant. Excellent. Guys, do you have any more? I'm just trying to follow the comments. Do you have any more questions? I'm just scrolling. We've got someone saying that their friends and family have motivated them to accept their condition, which is beautiful to hear and read. CBT, I think that's something you'd have to go to your doctors for, or your GP.
Yes, you can. Although if you look online, there's some really great cognitive behavioral therapists around, probably in your local area. So I was recommended through my doctor, but yeah, if you can also
like a
look online
directory,
as well.
probably a
Yeah, I mean, if you are in conversation with your doctor, it might be better to go down that route.
Absolutely. Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Guys, if you have any more questions, please feel free to DM us, because, you know, there's quite a few questions there. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions after this session. Natalie, thank you so much for being my first Instagram Live.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. And I've learned a wealth of experience from what you've shared. And I would imagine that those that are watching have as well. Where can we get your book? Your book is important.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, if you look at the bottom of my bio, so if you go to natjones_coach, you'll see the link to my book there. And I've also got an online course that goes deeper into what I was talking about earlier about retraining your thoughts and emotions just to feel better in your skin, even before you have to, you know, you don't have to fix your skin to feel good. You can actually do those practices and start to feel good already. So
brilliant.
Yeah,
and guys,
you can find it.
Can I just remind you, it's hot out at the moment. Please don't forget your sun cream.
Yes.
It's really important. Factor 50 or higher, just keep your skin protected, because as you know, we have to look after our skin, and our skin is very sensitive to the sun. So please don't forget your sun cream. Natalie, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You've been amazing.
Thank you,
and
Natalie.
guys, thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
I hope you enjoy the rest of World Vitiligo Day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.